I realized there are unique, outrageous acts of love that can be committed by me and me alone, and that is the unique purpose, obligation, joy, and responsibility. It's my ability to respond to reality. That's my outrageous act of love.
A planetary awakening in love through a unique self-symphony.
What a privilege it is to be part of this global community.
There's a voice within me that asks, who am I, right? Who am I in all of this?
Each and every one of us has a unique gift to give that we desperately need.
Welcome to the heart of the revolution, everyone. It is with deep joy we are together in one mountain, many paths. Our mission is what Barbara Marx Hubbard and Dr. Mark Goffney call a planetary awakening in love through unique self-symphonies. We are activating a new humanity, and we are awakening as a new species. Homo Amor, the fulfillment of Homo sapiens. As a church, a synagogue, a mosque, a temple, a zendo, no one is excluded, everyone is included, and we come together to attune to the evolutionary impulse awakening within us. Welcome home, everyone. I am Christina Tehel, the co-executive producer, along with Krista Josepha, Jamie Long, Jacqueline Clark, and we are so delighted to be together with each and every one of you today for week 311 of our live community broadcast. What a privilege it is to be part of a global community where we contribute to humanity's flourishing. Use the Zoom and the Facebook chat functions to say hello, to let us know where you're from, to resonate the Dharma, and to speak your prayers. Do make sure that on Zoom, your chat settings say everyone so that we can all hear from you. Care to step deeper into community through the work and practice of creating the great Homo Amor library? We are a thriving community and work group. Reach out to Krista for the holy opportunities. Her email is in the chat box now. Do read Tears by Dr. Goffney. It is about the dance of our tears in our lives. Tears are not of one texture. There are many forms of holy tears. And it is a fantastic book on consciousness and about learning to discern between these different forms of tears. Join us for our next dialogue with Dr. Mark Goffney and Andrew Cohen. Evolutionary spirituality towards an engaged evolutionary mysticism. The link for signing up is in the chat box now and in our membership emails. And the event is on Thursday, October 6th. Join us for writing to the evolutionary love codes each Monday to alchemize the love codes that we're working with. Members do receive an email with the details. If you don't receive the email, I personally invite you to step closer in to hold your center of this community, and I'd love to deepen with you in contemplative writing. Yesterday, as part of launching the Unique Self Institute, we resumed our study group, diving into awakening your unique self with Claire Molinar, David Cicerci, and myself. Sign up for $50 per month for membership to join part 1 of this course. Dr. Mark Goffney will join us in part 2 to share the evolution of the unique self Dharma. More information is on onemountainmanypaths.org, and the link is now in the chat box. What to expect today? First, a Dharma recap from myself. Then Dr. Mark sets our intention. Then David resonates our evolutionary love code. Then we step into our evolutionary sense makings with Dr. Mark. And then we move into meditation to enter prayer. Krista invites us deeper into community, and to close, we bring people on for our goodbyes and a short dance party. I welcome all who are new. We need you. If this is your first time, these teachings do stand on their own, and every week builds on the previous week's teachings. We encourage you to listen to previous episodes. Today, you will hear unique language. Trust the magic ways the language or Dharma comes through your understanding. One Mountain, Many Paths is radically committed to telling the new universe story. Now for my recap from last week. Responding to the 3 questions of cosmoerotic humanism, the principles of outrageous love. There are 3 great questions in life. 1, where am I? 2, who am I and who are you? And 3, what is there to do? We call these questions the 3 great questions of cosmoerotic humanism, the expression of what may be the most potent and powerful self-understanding that humanity has ever been able to articulate. To understand the Anthropocene, in which human beings determine the future of evolution, to move from unconscious evolution to conscious evolution, in which we realize the entire evolutionary process is awake and alive in us. And we can move to this place in which we can actually assume the gravitas of our power to create our future or to not have a future. Our intention in this time is to step into the fullness of this moment, to refuse to look away and recognize and face full on particular quality of metacrisis, which characterizes the deepest truth of this moment for humanity. Metacrisis means the possibility of catastrophic risk, which is suffering for billions of human beings, but also existential risk, which is the end of human beings, the death of humanity. We understand it doesn't need to go this way. So the 3 questions of cosmoerotic humanism, the question of where are we? We are in a love story. We are living not merely in a world of facts, we are living in a story, and a story has plot lines. And the nature of the story is it's an evolutionary love story, meaning love is a core principle of reality itself, and it's going somewhere. Who are we? We are unique lovers. We are unique, outrageous lovers, and our love story is chapter and verse in the universe, a love story. What is there to do? We commit our outrageous acts of love when our deepest qualities meet the most urgent need of the moment, that we are able to access in evolving the very source code of consciousness and culture. Outrageous love is an experience that moves through our bodies, through our hearts, and through our minds, which enables us, which activates us, and which allows us to respond to the metacrisis with outrageous love. By outrageous love, we don't mean ordinary love. That is why we cannot root value solely in the world of human constructions. By outrageous love, we mean the love that moves the sun and the stars. Love that is not mere human sentiment, but love that is at the heart of existence itself, eros. Love that is emerging in the human being, which is flowing through the human being, which is the current of cosmos, the interior face of cosmos, the interior face of the human being who participates in cosmos. We train in the art of love. We cultivate love like we cultivate great art. We participate in the evolution of love in us, as us, and through us. We can revision reality, heal those causes, and rewire the very planetary stack through evolving the very source code of consciousness and culture, which enables us to be able to ride the great course of change, find our way and set a course by entering the very source code of reality itself and rewriting that source code and reauthoring the human story. Now I invite us to more deeply enter into the holy and sacred spaces of One Mountain, Many Path, and I turn my word to you, Dr. Mark Goffney.
Thank you. And every word for that beautiful Dharma recapitulation, and welcome everyone, and every word that Christina is talking in this recapitulation is validated by the leading edge insights of pre-modern, modern, and post-modernity woven into a new language of second simplicity. But be clear, when we say something like outrageous love, we don't mean a casual slogan. We mean an understanding about the phenomenological nature of reality, meaning the real nature of reality, which is a reality that's animated by eros. Eros, the experience of radical aliveness that seeks, desires ever deeper contact and moves towards ever greater wholes, ever wider and deeper wholeness. That eros animates the four forces of physical reality. That eros moves separate parts into becoming larger wholes. That eros animates your body, my body, in this very moment as 37.2 trillion cells are in constant communication with each other and a non-local awareness of each other's depth and purpose and vision. And all of those cells can actually feel each other, and in some profound biological sense, they recognize each other. That's happening, that eros that holds and moves everything. When undifferentiated cells differentiate in the process of embryogenesis, and they each move towards a particular telos, a particular vector, and form a particular organ, transforming as they go in ways that are unimaginably beautiful, unimaginably complex, unimaginably wise, that all of our exponentialized supercomputers couldn't even begin to replicate. And what does that mean? Eros, the love intelligence and love beauty and love desire of reality that lives in every muon, in every hadron, and every lepton, that lives in protons and neutrons and electrons, that lives in atoms, that lives in molecules and macromolecules, that lives in cells and multicellular and tissue structures up into organelles and organisms. And that's the nature of reality, and that eros is not the ordinary love that we talk about between human beings who all too often reduce love to an egocentric strategy, but actually the love that moves the sun and other stars, how Dante described it, the love that's the heart of existence itself, the love that is the motivational architecture of each and every one of us and the motivational architecture of cosmos itself. So when we say outrageous love, It's not a byword. It's not a slogan, right? It's not some unreal fantasy. No, the illusion that we live as skin-encapsulated egos in rivalrous conflict governed by win-lose metrics, right? Trying to somehow soothe our unresolved trauma, right? In aggressive forms of all kinds that actually prevent us coming together as a global community and engaging existential risk, right? That's an illusion, right? That's based on, right, a fantasy, a traumatized fantasy of what it means to be a human being, which is both unscientific in terms of the exterior sciences and unscientific in terms of the interior sciences. So outrageous love is not a fantasy. Outrageous love is reality. It's more real, right, than anything we could possibly know. And so we come together here in One Mountain, we set our intention. And our intention is to, as a band of outrageous lovers, in intimate communion with each other and with all of reality, right? We are here to become Homo Amor. And Homo Amor is the fulfillment of Homo sapien. We're here to become the new human. The new human who's alive, who's omniconsiderate for the sake of the whole, right? The new human who is radically feeling, who can feel unimaginably, and who can think gorgeously and clearly, and who can do sense making, and who can create uniquely and in dazzling ways, right? The human being who knows that she has a song to sing and a poem to write, in a way of laughing, living, and being and becoming in reality that's desired and needed by all that is, and that knowing, that gnosis, is the birthright of every human being. And that we come together in unique self-symphony to address the unique invitation of reality in this moment, to address the unique needs in our unique circles of intimacy and influence. And we move towards a planetary awakening in love. We foster a culture of Eros, right? A planetary awakening in love through unique self-symphonies, in which each of us is playing our own gorgeous, unique instrument, and within which each people, each religion, each form of knowing, of gnosis, each discipline in the academy, each play their unique self-instrument in the symphony, not as a form of contrived identity, which then darkens, obfuscates, ignores all the other instruments, but in deep resonance with all of the instruments. And what emerges is the sound of music, right? The gorgeous music, which is the mathematics of intimacy that governs cosmos, all the way down and all the way up the evolutionary chain. That's why we're here, for that revolution. We understand that it's not just it doesn't need to go that way. We're actually poised not just before dystopia, we're poised before utopia. We have the capacity to create heaven on earth. We have the capacity to create a world of unimaginable beauty, the world that we all know is possible. So we're here to stand for that. We're here to do that together. We're here to activate that possibility. This is our Renaissance moment, but it's far more intense than the Renaissance, because this is a moment in which we have exponential capacities for self-annihilation. And so let's come together. Let's come together not in fear, or not in a kind of doomer sense of resignation, but with the hope that's born of a memory of the future that lives in us, as us, and through us. And we know that we're not alone. And that is the last sentence in our intention setting today. We know we're not alone. We're not alone in cosmos. We are personal expressions of the love intelligence of the entire field. And that love intelligence is not a person sitting someplace, it's personhood exponentialized. There is a God, and God is the infinite intimate. And as we move towards the construction, not just of a world spirituality, but of a world religion, a world religion which is not dominating, a world religion in which there's room for everyone, a world religion which is committed to manifesting a world that works for everyone, a world religion that's a context for our diversity. There'll be Christianity, and there'll be Islam, and there'll be the forms of Buddhism, and there'll be Judaism, and there'll be Confucianism, and there'll be indigenous Aboriginal paths, right? All of the instruments of the symphony remain, but we realize that we're all part of something that's greater than the sum of the individuated parts. And that new whole, that world religion that's rooted in a universal grammar of value, that's rooted in first principles and first values embedded in a story of value, which is the story of us going somewhere. There are plot lines to the universe story. And when we say the universe is a story, we're not engaging in a fanciful conjecture. The nature of reality is narrative. There's a narrative arc to reality. It's going somewhere. We move from mud to Mozart. We move from bacteria to Bach. We move from quarks to culture, not accidentally, but actually filled with contingency, filled with surprise, filled with spontaneity, but within an overarching arc of non-randomness, and that non-randomness is the eros itself that drives reality, that manifests as the good, the true, and the beautiful, that manifests as value, seeking, desiring. The appetition of cosmos, in Whitehead's phrase, right? Seeking, desiring ever more value. That's who we are. We are unique incarnations of cosmic value, not as a fantasy, but as the most fantastic reality that you can possibly imagine. What a delight to be here and to be weaving and participating together in evolving the very source code of reality itself. Oh my God, welcome everyone. And David, read the code, right? And resonate this code if you can, like even 2 or 3 times. So everyone, it's a very critical code that we're doing today. And David, your resonance and your voice and your uniqueness and your value, right, lights it up as it lights me up, right? Resonate the code for us. Let's listen to it kind of 2 or 3 times carefully. And we're going to try and make this real. This is a key moment. Here we go.
Wow. I mean, just hearing your context and intention setting, it just allows me to breathe deeper. It's like the world is infused with meaning again, and it's a meaning that's beyond that old stories that we heard from our childhood, but incorporates that. So this code is actually providing a context for these first principles and first values that Mark was outlining here. So every religion has a unique self. This is the code. The unique self of a religion is the intimate quality of meaning and meeting between the infinite and the finite that is particular to that religion. That unique quality of intimacy is irreducible and utterly needed in the great unique self symphony of spirit. The rituals of a religion are not merely the surface structures of a religion, but rather the unique, intimate expressions of that religion's erotic embrace of divinity. One more time. Every religion has a unique self. The unique self of a religion is the intimate quality of meaning and meeting between the infinite and the finite that is particular of that religion. That unique quality of intimacy is irreducible and utterly needed in the great unique self-symphony of spirit. The rituals of a religion are not the surface structures of a religion, but rather the unique intimate expression of that religion's erotic embrace of divinity. Here it is one last time. It's amazing how powerful this is because, it weaves together all this spiritual wisdom. Every religion has a unique self. The unique self of a religion is the intimate quality of meaning and meeting between the infinite and the finite that is particular to that religion. That unique quality of intimacy is irreducible and utterly needed in the great unique self-symphony of spirit. The rituals of a religion are not the surface structures of a religion, but rather the unique, intimate expressions of that religion's erotic embrace of divinity. With that, it's my pleasure to turn my word back to you, Dr. Mark.
Yay, Dr. David, Rabbi David, that's fantastic. That's gorgeous. That's beautiful. Okay, so let's find this. This is a very big deal because we can't respond to the meta crisis without an actual sense of a universal grammar of value, right? A world religion. And a world religion needs to bring together, right, two components. It needs to bring together a shared dharma, right, meaning a shared story of value, and it's got to be rooted in a shared set of first principles and first values. But in that dharma, every religion is going to have its unique contribution, its unique voice. And its unique voice, and this is very, very important. This is one of the things that the perennial philosophy got wrong. And it was a critical mistake. And it's one of the reasons it didn't work. And the perennial philosophy is a very important dimension of reality, right? It's philosophy of perennius, Leibniz called it. It's the shared truths of the great traditions. And that's important, and that's real. There are shared truths of the great traditions that are absolutely critical. Does everyone get that? They're absolutely critical. And actually, what the philosophy of Perennius was this moment in the Renaissance where we did this uniquely modern move. And the modern move was modernity, which starts around the Renaissance. The modern move was to look back at pre-modernity, which was filled with localized, particularized moves, right? Every religion was, for example, ethnocentric. We're the only ones with the truth, and only our truth is the truth. And although there were other voices in the medieval period, voices of revelation and reason and seeking the identity between revelation and reason and having a universal sense of reason, those voices were ultimately overridden by the sense of radical particularization, radical separateness, radical triumphalism, and a kind of rivalrous conflict governed by win-lose metrics between the religions themselves. And there was no sense of a genuine, coherent world intimacy. It wasn't a possibility. Right? Every religion was located in its own triumphalist struggle, and each religion viewed the end of days, right, the future eschaton, right, the fulfillment of history, right, the end of history being their triumph over everyone else, where everyone else realizes, wow, we completely got it wrong, and they bow, right, to the particular God or particular path of that medieval religion. And along came perennial philosophy, right, and did something unbelievably important, right? Perennial philosophy said, let's extrapolate shared universals from the particulars, meaning underneath each of the kind of separate self dimensions of the religion, right? Each religion has its own, if you will, separate self. If we can talk about religion as a person, ontogeny and phylogeny recapitulate each other, right? The communal and the personal recapitulate each other. So if we can talk about each religion in the pre-modern period was a separate self in a kind of nasty Hobbesian state of war, quite literally, with all the other religions, perennial philosophy said, no, underneath the separate self of all the religions, there's a shared truth. There's a shared consciousness. There's a deeper true self, if you will, that's shared by all the religions. And that shared true self, perennial philosophy identified actually with the realization that emptiness or shunyata or consciousness, or whatever word each religion chose, ayin or Christ consciousness or Atman is Brahman or the Great Spirit, there's a shared ground of being, which is infinitely valuable, right? Which is the infinite field, right, of consciousness, that is the true nature of reality. And that actually, if you practice, you can get beyond your separate self story and realize that ground, and the experience of that ground will create the better world that we all know is possible. That was what the perennial philosophy said. And although people should, of course, perennial philosophy said, you know, you can obviously continue practicing your religion, but that's the real thing, is not your individualized or localized religion, right? The real story is this underneath sense of realization of your true self, and that personal realization that you're not a separate self, but you're a true self, that actually is the true self of all the religions. Right? That's actually the true nature of all the religions, right? There's a shared set of universals. And that's powerful. And that's true. And let me see if I can give you a sense of it. We're doing a deep, wild dive this morning. So see if we can kind of summarize the perennial philosophy. The perennial philosophy says we can extrapolate shared universals from the particularized, localized visions, right, of a medieval life spirit. So what would be a good summation of perennial philosophy? And Aldous Huxley was kind of a famous popularizer of perennial philosophy. He actually wrote a book called Perennial Philosophy, and he did it, you know, quite grandly without a computer. So he did an intense amount of research to put it together well. It's an excellent little book. So Huxley in 1943, right, in the Vedanta Journal of the LA Vedanta Society, publishes a 2-3 page article, which is about what he calls the minimum working hypothesis for perennial philosophy. And an Integral Thought has done its version of this. But basically it comes out something like as follows. These are the basic grounds of the perennial philosophy. One, and perennial philosophy again means the shared truth of all the great religions. One, spirit is real. Okay, spirit is real. Spirit's real. And I would reconfigure that and say not spirit is real, and we're doing that work. We're kind of redefining and rewriting and redrawing perennialism. I'd say value is real. But spirit is real, value is real, however you want to tell that story, right? Interiors are real, right? Spirit is real. It's not a social contrivance. Spirit is real. One. Two, to access the reality of spirit, you go inside, right? That's two. You go inside. And the way you go inside is you practice, right? You do something, right? An experiment, right? You do an action, an experiment that yields a result. And that might be, you might be a whirling dervish, and it might be certain forms of ecstatic prayer, or it might be contemplative prayer, or it might be Zazen meditation in Zen Buddhism, or it might be certain kinds of Aboriginal practices. But you do a practice that takes you inside. And then you access the truth that spirit is real. That's two. Three, we always fall away from the lived realization that spirit's real. So three is that we forget. We always forget. No one ever doesn't not forget. There's always an exile from Eden. And the exile from Eden, both in your and my personal life and in the collective life of culture, the crisis, right, is not an accident. Right? It's part of the nature of reality. Four, after the shattering, after the vessels break, after we lose access, right, to that realization, after we are exiled, after, right, our hearts break and we can't find our way back, after we're lost from paradise, where paradise is lost. After that happens, number four, there's a way back. There's a way back. You can always find your way back. And five, when you find your way back, right, which is again through practice, you find your way back through practice, you actually get to a level of realization that's deeper, more true, more beautiful, more good than anything you could have known before. So you don't just find your way back and return to where you were. You don't just find the place, right, that you were lost from and recognize it for the first time. You actually find a dimension of that place that's deeper, that's more wise, that's more beautiful, that's more wondrous, that's more alive, that's more tumescent, right, with the living God, right, than any experience you've ever had. So when you find your way back, you're more, you're wiser, you're deeper, okay? Then 6, in that new state, you actually wake up without all of the unnecessary suffering. You release the anxiety. You're healed from the dimensions of samsara, the dimensions of the world of fragmentation, and you actually know your true identity, and you can feel the larger whole, and the larger whole can feel you, and you have this experience of, for the first time, being at home. But then 7, and this is the last piece, 7, and you're motivated, you're awakened, you're activated, you're aroused to move and act in world for the sake of the healing of all sentient being, for the sake of transforming reality to the higher and highest levels it can reach of the good, the true, and the beautiful. So that experience actually awakens you and moves you, right, to action. You become an activist. You become, right, the ontology that moves in you, meaning the realization of the real that moves in you transforms you into an ontological activist. You move for the sake of the healing and transformation, what Lurianic Kabbalah called the tikkun, right? The fixing, the rectification, right? The evolution, because the word tikkun, T-I-K-K-U-N, actually, if you look at it carefully philologically in the early Aramaic texts that use it in the 13th century, tikkun means not quite fixing, it means evolution. So you actually participate in the evolution of the whole thing. You actually have a realization that the evolutionary impulse is awake and alive in you by whatever name the evolutionary impulse might have been called, but that pulse of the real, which as evolutionary thought moved to front and center, we realized it expresses itself in the pulse of the evolutionary process. But let's call it the pulse of the real, moves in you. You participate in the real, and therefore you can transform the real. Wow. So those 7 dimensions were utterly essential to the perennial philosophy. And they said, let's build the new world on this vision. And that's good. And that's true, and that's beautiful, but it's insufficient. And hence we get to the code that David read. And this is one of our core evolutionary love codes that David resonated so beautifully. So let's look at that again, right? Every religion has a unique self. So that's a very big deal. Every religion has a unique self. And the unique self of religion is the intimate quality of meaning and meeting between the infinite and the finite that is particular to that religion. And that unique quality of intimacy is irreducible and utterly needed in the great unique self-symphony of spirit. And the rituals of a religion are not the surface structures of a religion, but rather the unique immanent expressions of that religion's eros, right? Erotic, intimate embrace of infinite divinity. Okay, that's a very big deal. So let's see if we can get this, because we're laying down the tracks now. Does everyone get how important this is? Let's find each other in the chat box for a second. Who gets how important this is? This is a big deal. Mosa, it's great to see you. It's great to see you, Mosa. Everyone get this? Is huge, right? We're laying down essential tracks here, right? And the perennial philosophy didn't work because it didn't get this, right, friends? Right, dear friends, right? It didn't get this. The perennial philosophy said, you don't need the religions anymore. It said that, you need perhaps the esoteric core of each religion that knows these 7 principles that I just articulated. And I just articulated a vision of, right, a particular summation, right, of the perennial philosophy. And I drew part of it from Huxley's minimum working hypothesis, 1 or 2 pieces from integral thought, but really it's much broader. It's neither integral thought nor Huxley, right? It's actually, right, a new synergy, and in a new list of 7 that I've never been privileged to share before. So I'm delighted to share it. Right? Those 7, right, those are the 7, right, when you integrate, right, the best understandings perennially, right, of the great traditions, you get to those 7. So that's a contemporary recasting, right, of perennial philosophy, and yet it's insufficient. And there was a version of it in the 16th century and a version of it in the 20th century, right? Slightly different, but basically it's insufficient. It's insufficient because what perennial philosophy claimed, and this exists in the writings of almost every great perennialist, from Fritz of Schuhan, right, to Huxley, right, to 1,000 other writers. What they basically thought was that the rituals of religion were surface structures. And you could, and this is a core feature, for example, of integral thought, integral philosophy's thought, right? It's repeated again and again throughout that important and wonderful corpus of thought, right? But this is a mistake, right? It says that the rituals of a religion are, for the most part, are almost entirely surface structures. You can let go of the rituals of the religion, and you need to embrace their esoteric core, which is this realization of emptiness, right? The emptiness meaning the shunyata, the ground of being, the living ground of being, which is our true self that lives underneath our story. So the stories, the rituals that emerge from the stories, the particular stories of the great religions, those are nonsense, right? They're nonsense, really, right? And we call them surface structures, which is a nicer way to say nonsense. But that's exactly not true. Of course, there's some dimensions, right, of every religion that are purely historical. And there's some dimensions of every religion that are mediated through a broken historical prism, which is the best that history has at that time. For example, an ethnocentric prism, in which the realization of spirit is mediated through an ethnocentric prism, and it comes out with something like we're the chosen people, right? And every religion had its version of we're the chosen people. So clearly there are broken mediating prisms, right, that generate belief structures in a religion that are limiting, right, and broken, and from a larger perspective, even corrupt. Yes, that's true. Absolutely true. And we need to recognize that. And yes, it's true that there are some dimensions of a religion that are purely surface structure and that are nonsense, and that are purely local, historical, sociocentric, right, rooted in a particular age and a particular moment in history. But that's not the core of a religion. The core of a great religion is a particular movement of music. It's a particular quality of intimacy. It's a particular bridge between the infinite and the intimate. It's a particular instrument in the unique self-symphony of spirit. So just like an individual has not only a separate self, which is their nonsense story, their surface structure story, an individual has a true self, meaning they're one with the field of consciousness, one with the field of desire and consciousness. That's true self. And that's what perennial philosophy pointed to in each religion. But an individual also has what we've called 1,000 times together, right, a unique self. Right? An individual has a unique self, and a unique self is the unique expression of infinity, the unique expression of infinity intimately configured in me. It's she, it's the infinite intimate. And that's the name I want to offer as part of this New World religion. The name of God is the infinite intimate. Names of God are very important. The new name of God that integrates the names of God from all the great traditions, the new name of God is the infinite intimate. Remember what we always say, the God you don't believe in doesn't exist. God is either too infinite, but it becomes an infinity of indifference, or God is too concretized, too intimate, and it becomes an intimacy of impotence, right? So in history, we've moved between names of God that actually don't validate our inner knowing about the nature of reality and don't validate the deepest realizations about reality in an integrated synergistic form. We've got descriptions of the divine which are non-personal, which don't actually reach or feel our lives or the depth of our humanity or the depth of love and kindness and goodness. So it's an infinity, but it's an abstract infinity. It's an infinity of indifference. Or we have kind of concretized expressions, right, of the divine that, live in the mountain right next to us, and that are our local tribal gods that are, concerned with us, but are not potent. They're not omnipotent. They're not concerned and omniconsiderate for all of reality. They're close to us, but they can't do the God work, right? They're not potent, and so there's an intimacy of impotence. When I say they, I mean the God force, right? The field of divinity. The field of divinity is infinite, beyond, right, any kind of personhood as we understand personhood, and yet the field of divinity is intimate, more intimate than any personhood we've ever experienced, and any personhood that we've ever experienced, every personhood that we've ever experienced, right? Can you feel this? Any personhood that we've ever experienced participates in that field of the infinity of intimacy, which is the nature of the divine. So we're here to proclaim and to declare in this moment a new name of God for world religion. And it's only through the articulation of a world religion, which is the generative ground of a shared grammar of value, that we can actually respond to the meta crisis. And every infrastructure move we make will break down, and every social structure move we make will break down, unless we actually address the source code itself, which is the story of value in which we live. It's the name of God, which we call out, which lives in us and holds us in the same moment. So we're here, right, friends? We're here to declare, to call out the name of God, and to call out the name of God as the infinite intimate. And that means that every human being who's an irreducibly unique incarnation of the infinite intimate, every human being who's an infinitely unique incarnation, who's a configuration of intimacy and desire that never was, is, or will be ever again, every human being participates in the name of God. And that actually, there's a reason why your name is your name. And sometimes we even take on a new name. Because I'm taking on a new name because I'm realizing that my name participates in the divine name. And the divine name is the sum total, past, present, and future of every name, of every human and every being that ever was, is, or will be, is together the divine name. And then that divine name holds, transcends, and includes, synergizes in a larger whole, all of that humanity and all of that being and all of that becoming. And so every human being's unique self is the name of God, which is why in moments of orgasm, which is or mugzam in the original Hebrew, right? The extreme light, when I can see clearly, right? You can see clearly now. And I look at my beloved and I say, yes. And I call her name, or I call his name. Then I scream out in every language, oh God. Why? Because in that moment of intensified light, and orgasm in original Hebrew alludes to the word or mugzam, intensified light. In that moment of intensified illumination, I realized that your name, your unique self, your name which is expressed, incarnate as your unique self, actually personifies, participates in the name of God. And that's true as well of the unique self of every religion. The unique self of every religion is an expression of the name of God. Allah Akbar. Yes, that's true. Adonai hu Elohim. Atman is Brahman. El, Christ. Christ is our Lord. Right? The Great Spirit. Right? Each one of these names of God, Mat, Geist, or the implicate order, right? All names of God. Each name of God is true. Each religion actually is not lost in some kind of demented, pre-modern, infantilized primitivity, right? As so many modern and postmodern scholars would have us believe. But actually, the core of every religion isn't just its realization of emptiness. It's its intimate play. It's the intimate structure of ritual and practice. And unless we realize that and honor that, we'll never be able to create a world religion. A world religion that doesn't recognize the intimate, infinite beauty of the unique self, right, of every religion, and then invite those religions to, as themselves, in their uniquely configured pattern of the infinite intimate, to participate and play their instruments in the unique self symphony. And if that doesn't happen, there's no world religion, there's no unique self symphony, there's no moving beyond division. There's no moving beyond the intense divisiveness. The Secretary General of the UN just gave a fantastic speech in which he said, we've lost the capacity for collective action, both in our official bodies and in our extra officio bodies like the G20. He said that actually geopolitical divides, what we call here in One Mountain, we call it rivalrous conflict governed by win-lose metrics. He called it geopolitical divides, prevent collective action. We've been saying that here for a decade, that actually if I don't have global coordination, I can't actually address global challenges. And since every existential risk is a global challenge, I need global coordination. But we've said that you can't have global coordination unless you have global coherence. And you can't have global coherence unless you have global resonance. And resonance is resonance between notes of music, unique, intimate notes in the unique self symphony. And I can't have global resonance unless I have a global intimacy. And I can't have global intimacy unless I have a shared story of value. But now here's the thing, we're going to add something to this. But a shared story of value is not one which homogenizes all differences. It's not one only which realizes that which unites us is greater than that which divides us. That's just the first part of the story. That's true. There's a shared story of value. There's a universal grammar of value. But in that universal grammar of value, there are individual unique chapters and whole books, right, that are actually the unique expression of the infinite intimate in a particular religion, in a particular way, in a particular path, which is holding a name of God, right? Each unique self of every religion is a name of God, like the unique self of every being is a name of God. And it's only when those names are spelled together that we create a grammar of value in which we're all part of the same seamless code of the universe, but the seamless code of the universe is seamless but not featureless, and its unique features are the irreducible, gorgeous, infinitely individuated expression of the fractal pattern of the divine, uniquely expressed in the infinite, intimate, configured of every and in and as every particular religion. Oh my God. Wow. Wow. It's like, wow. It's like, wow. Right? We just evolved the source code. Does everyone get that? We just evolved the source code right now. It just happened right here. Right? So it's not that the religions are just surface structures. Right? And we need the depth structures. No. Every religion has its dharma, which is unique, and it has its yoga, which is unique. Every religion has its Torah, its dharma, and its mitzvah, its practice. Every religion has its first principles and first values, and every religion has its first practices. So there are first principles and first values on the one hand, and there are first practices on the other hand. And this is the reason we made a decision, right, to actually evolve the name of the center, right? And we have to evolve. Our name has to always get richer and deeper. We don't want to stay ossified in our original name. We want to be loyal to our original name and then grow. So we began, right, in 2009 as the Center for World Spirituality. And then we wanted to include wisdom, right? And spirituality seemed too narrow for us, and we wanted to include, right, the great integral map. So we called it, the Center for Integral Wisdom. I founded the center together with Sally Kempton and Ken Wilber. We called it the Center for Integral Wisdom, and now we're evolving it, right? Transcending and including and transcending, and we're actually renaming the center as the Center for World Philosophy and Religion, which includes, right, all of integral wisdom and all of world spirituality. But we need religion back on the table. We can't just say spirituality. We need the binding character of religion. We can't just, when I hear that, people say, wow, we're making up new rituals, right? Someone was just at the house recently, well, I'm making up all these fantastic new rituals. That's beautiful, but it doesn't quite get you there, right? New ritual comes from the depth of a lineage, and that lineage has attainment. That lineage has realization, and that lineage has, as Rupert Sheldrake called it, a morphic resonance with everyone who's ever fulfilled that ritual and poured their unique realization into that ritual. But that ritual is sourced in the most subtle and speculative mind hearts. So a ritual needs the crucible of realization. A ritual needs the crucible of attainment. And so whenever we create a new ritual, right, that's not just this kind of, modern, liberal Protestant or New Age, or New Age Buddhist or whatever it is, Jewish practice. Ritual has to come out of the depth of our attainment. You have to hear she whispering in your heart mind before you create a new ritual. You have to create a new ritual carefully. And that new ritual has to be that which binds us. A new ritual can't be, hey, I'm going to do it today. I don't really feel up to it. I guess I'm not going to do it for a few weeks. No, a new ritual, right? You lay your lifetime down for it, right? It creates you, it molds you, it forms you, even as you form it. And so we need a shared language, a shared grammar of value. We also need shared rituals, right? We need shared universal rituals that bind us, right, in a global intimacy, because the root, right, of existential and catastrophic risk is not simply rivalrous conflict governed by win-lose metrics that then generates complicated and fragile systems. That's part one. But the underlying root, which generates both of those two generator functions of existential risk, the underlying is global intimacy disorder. And global intimacy disorder is rooted in no shared story of value. And a shared story of value needs to include value and practice, dharma and yoga, realization and ritual, Torah and mitzvah, right? First principle and first practice. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. I can think of no more noble task. I can think of no more daunting task, right? And wow. So what I want to do is I want to model this next week with your permission. Okay, everybody, with your permission, I want to try and model this next week. So what we're going to do next week is we're going to come together and we're going to do this several times during the year. This will be kind of a leitmotif this year, running through. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, and we're going to do this around Christmas and Easter, and we're going to do it at particular moments in the Hindu pantheon and unfolding, and we're going to do it in moments in the Islamic unfolding. But next week, we're going to focus particularly on Hebrew wisdom, because it's that time of year. Right? We live the calendar and the calendar lives us, and we're going to focus on these two lineage structures called Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're Jewish or not. And it's not about that. It's not right? Just like it's not going to matter whether you were born Christian for our Christmas conversation or whether you were born Hindu for our Kashmir Shaibet conversation, or you were born in an Islamic country for our Sufi or classical Islam conversation. And this is about what's the unique contribution? How do you actually extrapolate? How do you actually feel into, listen into this unique teaching from the unique self-instrument of a particular tradition and place its instrument inside of the unique self-symphony and begin to play it as part of your life? That's what we're going to do next week. We're going to model that. And the particular topic for next week will be, and I want to make sure we're not, okay, we're at 2:02. I want to make sure, right, the particular topic is going to be tears. the instrument of tears, of crying. And we're going to talk about 4 kinds of tears, and the path of tears, and the voice of tears, and the language of tears, which, as we will see, is a unique instrument in the ritual and dharma of Hebrew practice that we want to place at the center, right, of Unique Self Symphony. Oh my God, right? So what a code, David. What a gorgeous code. What a gorgeous, gorgeous code. Wow. And I want to invite, as we always do at this time, I want to invite our prayer. Invite my prayer and your prayer and our prayer together. And prayer means that we turn not to the caricatured God, right? Not to the cosmic vending machine God, but we turn to the field of infinity, which is the infinity of intimacy. To the God, goddess who knows our name, the Shekhinah, who is the infinite intimate, that yearns for intimacy with you, with me, and who knows that through intimacy with me, with thee, with all of us together, she becomes more. That she becomes more through that intimacy. And we turn to that God, the God who knows our name, who knows that we are part of her name. And we ask for everything. We say, help us, hold us. You live in us, and you also hold us, because that is the nature of the personhood of Cosmos. Cosmos is not merely impersonal. Cosmos, right, is more personal than the most personal moment we've ever experienced. Wow. And that's not a dogma, that's realization, right? Just like I heard David talking. I heard Christina Amelon talking. I'm going to hear Krista Josepha talking in a moment. What allows me to hear Krista Josepha? My intelligence, not just my ears. My ears are a functional, critical instrument, but my ears are animated by Eros, by love intelligence. So it's the love intelligence in me that hears Krista. Now, in this pointing out instruction, is my love intelligence separate from the field of love intelligence? All of science tells me that that's absurd. So if my individualized love intelligence can hear Krista or David or Christina Amelon today, can it be that only I can hear them? Only my love intelligence can hear them, but the field of love intelligence cannot hear them? Of course, that's not possible. So when I speak, the field of love intelligence listens and responds. And just like in human intercourse, as below, so above, the Hermetic principle rooted in Kabbalah, right? Just as the deeper I speak and the more urgent and alive and authentic my plea, the more deafening in gorgeousness and the more profound is the response. So when I turn to the infinity of intimacy, to the infinite intimate, and I share my holy and broken hallelujah with all my heart and all my might and all my soul, b'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol maldecha, in the language of the original text with everything I have, right? And I ask for everything, and I say, hold me and know my holy, broken and hallelujah, right? And then she says, wow, there's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter which I heard, but it's all the holy and the broken hallelujah. And I'm holding you right now, and I've never let you go, right? So we're going to pray now. So bring us inside, right? Bring us inside to the holy and the broken hallelujah.
Now I've heard there was a secret chord that David played, and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty and the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to a kitchen chair, she broke your throat and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah. You say I took the name in vain. I don't even know the name. But if I did, well really, what's it to you? There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter which you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah. I did my best, it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth, I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah.
Thank you all for your beautiful, beautiful prayers. And I trust and feel that every prayer is written on the inside of the inside and is heard and received deeply, deeply, deeply by all of reality. And I'm just going to read one or two to bring us into our prayer space together. Claire writes, praying that we may continue to weave her fabric of outrageous love bigger, wider, ever more intimate together for all of life. Becca writes, I pray that my heart eye sees the precious divinity of each of us on this transmission. Sally writes, I pray that I may be fully available to hear all that I need to hear, and that I express that in beauty, truth, and goodness. And we weave all of our prayers together and we lift them up to the sky. We offer them as a beautiful, beautiful prayer together. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And before I go into announcements, I want to invite us to really receive this moment that we are here together and that we get to be here together every week and place our attention on what we call evolving the source codes together. And this week, maybe even more than other weeks, we could really feel together that that's actually what we're doing. And it matters so much that we're here live, that we're showing up here every week and bring our attention to this, and that we're holding this really together. So I want to also appreciate each and every one of you as we appreciate each other for making that commitment to be here every week and to make that time and to share the very precious gifts of our time and our hearts and our love, and to say to all of reality that we really, really care about this. So thank you for doing that. And to invite you also to come always, ever deeper and closer. And I want to share a couple of ways with you how you can do that. So one of the ways is, Christina shared in the beginning, every Monday we have an evolutionary writing group. It's Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, which is 8 p.m. European time. And that's actually a beautiful way to let the Dharma move in you deeper through your own writing process, and also to share it with other people, to feel that community space, to meet other pioneering souls on the path, and to really become and embody the Dharma. So you're welcome to join that. And then we also have this new amazing study group where we're studying together Awakening Your Unique Self with Claire Molinar, who is the senior lineage holder of the Unique Self Dharma, and also together with Dr. Mark Gaffney, of course, the initiator of the Unique Self Institute. And this course started yesterday, and so many people showed up, and it was just amazing, mystical, powerful, explosive space of studying together. And I know we heard a couple of people who still wanted to join, who didn't sign up yet. So we decided to keep it open for another 2 weeks until the next gathering, which is on October 8th. So if you're still on the fence or you didn't make the decision yet, please come and join us there in this beautiful co-study group. And you can do that by signing up as a member of One Mountain. And that only costs $50 a month. We ask everyone here to just contribute as much as you can. And if you can't afford it, please reach out to me, and I'm sure we'll find a way to co-create together. And if you can give more also, of course, please do that. And as a member, you will get access to the writing group, to the study group, but also to 8 other courses that you can study on your own. So welcome, welcome, welcome to do that and to step in like that. Now we're going to close like we do every week. We're going to bring our beautiful faces on the screen. So you will be invited to, as it's called, promote to panelists. If you click OK, you will be able to turn on your camera, and then we're going to put us on gallery view so we can all see each other. Now, as every week, I know that there's a couple of people out there who are just lying on the couch or just chilling. So I want to invite you, maybe this week it's your turn to say, okay, yes, I'm just going to jump in anyway, even though I'm shy, even though I'm tired, even though I didn't comb my hair, I'm just going to show myself. I'm just going to show up. And I know that you do, because every week I see a couple of new faces, and that's just such a gift and such a pleasure. So I hope to see you on the other side. We're going to dance together on We Found Love in a Hopeless Place.
As a shadow